This video is brought to you by my new album entitled Dougal's Treats. It's full of hummable melodies, bluesy riffs and the occasional bit of virtuoso flashy stuff as well. If you enjoy bluesy rock guitar with memorable tunes and solos that wail like a banshee, then check out the links in the description. The premium version includes all of the tabs for each tune, videos and jam tracks as well. Thanks for listening. Now on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. It's Tuesday, a top 5 list is incoming, and as I always say now, you've seen the thumbnail and the video title, so you know what I'm going to be talking about today. The most overrated guitar players, not according to me, according to you, in a community post that I put up a few weeks ago. Now, I did a similar video to this a little while ago, the most overrated bands, according to you guys, once again. And yeah, there was some mixed feelings on that video, it has to be said. Some people just, the moment that there's any tongue-in-cheek, light-hearted poking of fun at the great and the good, the rock glitterati, immediately check out. And, you know, reminds me of, do you remember that movie, Kelly's Heroes? Donald Sutherland playing that character Oddball, and he's always going on about, don't hit me with those negative vibes, man. There's a lot of that going on in the comments, and one guy got really upset. He accused me of being a bully, the kind of person that would, you know, in my younger days, go and pick on the fat kids in the schoolyard. Look at me. Who do you think was the fat kid in the schoolyard? I mean, come on. Anyway, why am I doing another video like this then? Well, the figures speak for themselves. Take a look at the bottom figure there. No, so the top figure. My favourite licks and where I got them from. 941 views, 16 comments and 102 likes. Then I did the most overrated bands. 4,847 views, more than 5 times the number of views, 169 comments, and you know that's more than 10 times the equivalent on the other video, and 287 likes, albeit, okay, there were 10 dislikes there, but 287 to 10, I'll take that ratio. And it just seems that it was a video that did rather well, therefore earned me some extra revenue. And this, after all, is a business. This is not something I'm doing just for the sake of it. You know, it makes a contribution to our household budget at Robson Towers. So, you know, that's why I'm doing this video again. So if you are of the persuasion that any kind of expression of an opinion about a guitar player that you might like is beyond the pale and it's not a video that you want to watch, well, don't watch it. Okay, I'll see you on the next one. But let's crack on now. I've spent enough time waffling. Let's crack on with the guitar players that you chaps have nominated as the most overrated players, starting with
late 80s Eric Clapton. Awful dirge. Eric Clapton was in a couple of good, for the time, bands in the 1960s. In the 1970s, guitarists like Jimmy Page, Steve Howe, Steve Hackett, Brian May and Ritchie Blackmore were already wiping the floor with him. Eric Clapton is at the top of my list. Why he was ever thought to be that good? Then you have the ones that relied on drugs to be able to perform, i.e. Hendrix and Ronnie Wood. The Beatles were not that great either. Clapton and Ronnie Wood spring to mind.
Yeah, I'm going to get splinters in my backside from this one because I'm going to be sitting on the fence a little bit. I understand why there is a lot of mystification at the adulation that Slowhand Mr. Clapton gets. If I'd only heard Wonderful Tonight, or, you know, that 80s period where he was like Holy Mother, and you know, what was another one from that sort of period? Was it Behind the Mask? it wasn't, he was phoning it in, basically. But then again, you go and listen to the raw energy, the power, the gut-wrenching playing that you hear on the Beano album, and even better than the Beano album. I'm going to say that the best blues album ever recorded, or certainly a contender for the best blues album ever recorded, is Layla and Other Assorted Love Songs. I think that is just the pinnacle of blues guitar playing. Yeah, but unfortunately that was in 1970, and I don't think Eric's really done anything that surpasses that ever since. The odd flash of brilliance on, the Roger Waters Pros and Cons of Hitchhiking album. That was a good album. Great playing from Eric, but by and large there have been, periods of a decade or more where it's just, yeah, he's phoning it in. So, yeah, I can see both sides of the argument on that one. If you're an Eric Clapton skeptic and you haven't heard the Layla album, then go and check that out, and then, we can have another conversation. But I do see where you're coming from. Next.
Dave Gilmore. Dave Gilmore. Never understood why he's held in such high esteem. He's perfectly fine, but... Yep, Dave Gilmore, definitely. David Gilmore is average, but very fashionable.
Yeah, I'm not on the fence on this one. I love David Gilmore's playing. That said, I think that there was a tension and an antagonism that existed between Gilmore and Roger Waters in Pink Floyd that made both of them raise their game. The first post-Roger Waters Pink Floyd album, A Momentary Lapse of Reason, Roger Waters described it as, well, let me just say, Roger Waters is not usually a man that I rely upon for wisdom and insightful comments. But on this occasion, he described the A Momentary Lapse of Reason as a perfectly executed forgery. And I kind of see where he's coming from. It was sort of a David Gilmour album that Richard Wright and Nick Mason played on, but it didn't sound like a Pink Floyd album. The Division Bell was a little bit, more to my liking. But, I was watching, actually, the Pulse DVD a little while ago, and it struck me even then that, what made that such a great concert was the fact that they played Dark Side of the Moon in its entirety. They played like a bunch of hits off the wall, like Another Brick in the Wall, Comfortably Numb, and Run Like Hell, and maybe one or two others, and kept the newer stuff to a minimum. The majority of the concert was, from the Roger Waters era, and post Roger Waters and David Gilmour's solo work, yeah, it's a little bit tapioca for me. I can see where, if that's the only exposure you've had to David Gilmour, then you might not be as appreciative of him. But I just think of solos like the one on Time or Comfortably Numb, or just his guitar, again, the solo on Another Brick in the Wall, and just Wish You Were Here. I can just think of all of these iconic guitar parts that I think mean that there's something worth investigating there. There's something about David Gilmour's playing that he isn't flashy, he isn't fast, he doesn't claim to be, but to me there's a lot of soul in there. But I understand why, when he's having a bad day, you might kind of think it's all a little bit bland and music-y. But there you go. Opinions vary. Next.
I never got Jeff Beck, despite seeing him. Row A, front and centre, and I just didn't get it. My bad, I know, but nope, not for me. Suspenseful music plays. Every guitarist's favourite guitarist. I'm 60 and own some of his music, but I cannot recall a single riff after listening. Jeff Beck. There. I said it. Jeff Beck! Jeff Beck. So often he approached everything from a strange angle, in my humble opinion. I couldn't really enjoy his playing. It often felt too outside to my sensibilities. I guess he was really a natural jazzer, instinctively.
Right, okay, we're obviously going to have to agree to differ on this one. Jeff is one of my all-time favourite guitar players. I cannot go more than a couple of weeks without listening to Blow by Blow. I think it's just one of the great classic albums of the 70s. Scatterbrain, Constipated Duck, She's a Woman, Freeway Jam. Just all of these tracks on there are just, 'Cause We've Ended as Lovers. Just utterly sublime guitar playing. And the thing about Jeff is you listen to his playing from the 70s and then listen to it again in the 80s and the 90s, and he developed as a player. He was doing things in 1985 that he wasn't doing in 75, and in 95 he was doing things that he wasn't doing in 85. He was always working on his style and working on his articulation, and I thought he was an utter genius. But then again, he is, I suppose, an acquired taste. If your music, I'm talking about Blow by Blow. The first time I heard that, people were talking about Jeff Beck, brilliant guitarist. And I heard that in the 80s, and I'm thinking, okay, this is for the veneration he's getting. I'm probably going to be hearing something that's a cross between Eddie Van Halen and Michael Schenker and Steve Vai and, all of these kind of shredders. And then I heard Blow by Blow, and I thought, oh, I'm going to have to recalibrate a little bit here. But so I get why he can be an acquired taste. But his music is a taste that I've acquired. So, yeah, as I say, we'll agree to differ on that one. Next.
Slash when he joined Velvet Revolver. All the melody and taste left behind. Slash. Let me extrapolate. I love his work with Guns N' Roses and his solo stuff. However, when he steps in for more technical guitarists, he shows the limitations of his ability. For example, playing Crazy Train at a tribute to Ozzy and improvising his own solo, or performing Beat It with Michael Jackson and once again improvising his own solo, presumably both times because he isn't able to or can't be asked to learn the iconic solos. I suspect it's because they are technically beyond his abilities. Either way, his improvised solos were appalling. As a player of hard rock, he's a god. As a technician, keep to the sleazy rock and roll. Slash.
Again, another one where we're going to have to agree to differ. Maybe if I was, aware of that Ozzy tribute where he played, or didn't play, I should say, the solo from Crazy Train that was mentioned in the comments there. Maybe if I'd heard that, it might colour my estimation of him, but I always used to think of Axl Rose's voice as being the price you had to pay to listen to Slash's wonderful guitar playing on, Appetite for Destruction and the Use Your Illusion albums. I just think at a time when rock guitarists were all sort of spandex clad, kind of Max Factor encrusted posers with, pointy headstock guitars with fluorescent pink snakeskin finishes. Along comes this guy in a pair of jeans and a leather jacket, a Les Paul and a cigarette hanging off his bottom lip, and he's just rattling out these enormous blues riffs and solos, and just I thought it was an absolute breath of fresh air when Guns N' Roses came along in the late 80s. And can't say, I think I listened to a Snake Pit album once and it didn't leave a big impression on me. And Velvet Revolver, it was mainly the vocalist in that band. I can't remember what he was called, but I found his voice a little bit, again, a little bit like Axl's voice, a little bit sort of grating on me. But these days, now Slash has paired up with Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators and everything. It's fantastic. In fact, that first Slash solo album where he's basically been through his phone book and kind of phoned up all of his pals. You've got Lemmy on there, you've got Miles Kennedy on there, you've got Fergie from the Black Eyed Peas on there as well. She turns out a cracking good performance on that. It's a great album. I really, really enjoyed it, and still listen to it. So I'm going to say, yeah. With many of these, I'm trying to find where the negatives are that that make you nominate a particular guitarist, but with Slash I can't really find any, so let's just respectfully agree to differ on this one. Next.
Edge, for me. Too easy. I mean, aside from John Robson, nudge nudge wink wink, it has to be the Edge, so he can work a delay pedal. Big deal. Has to be the Edge. Also, worst name, moniker. Edge, Graham Coxon, Johnny Marr, Kurt Cobain.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, U2 were one of the bands on the overrated bands list, and I got to say that I'm on board with that. Never really got it. Just don't. I think what puts me off as well is that, you know, Borneo is a bit of a plank. It has to be said. Let's not get into that, or else we'll be here all day. But yeah, just all this kind of noodling around with a delay pedal and, you know, and all textural. I heard one person, like, obviously not a musician, a music critic, which is basically somebody that wanted to be a musician but had no talent for it, described the Edge's guitar playing as he plays the guitar with brush strokes. What? Yeah, I cannot call to mind any memorable riff or melody that he has come up with. It's just simple jangly chords swathed in a bit of tape echo or digital delay or whatever he uses. I don't get it, and you know, it seems I'm not the only one, but each to their own, as they say. And those are not my list of the most overrated guitar players in the world. That's your list of most overrated guitar players in the world. I'm sorry if your favourite guitar player has cropped up on this list, but then again, a couple of mine have. So, you know, I'm not, you know, seething with righteous anger with steam coming out of my ears and furiously hitting the caps lock key in response. So, you know, hopefully that can be an example in restraint that we can take forward with us. Anyway, that's it for today, folks. A little bit of fun, a little bit of light-hearted, tongue-in-cheek poking of fun at the great and the good, the rock glitterati. As I said, make of it what you will. If you've enjoyed the video, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so. And why not drop me a like as well while you're at it. And of course, don't forget the live stream every Friday, 5 PM UK time. Beer and chat. That's all it is. Beer and chat on a Friday, because it's Friday and everybody likes a beer and a chat on a Friday. It's a great way to kick off the weekend, and I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.